Earlier this week, The Athletic put out a top 25 list of the best players in the Big Ten Conference. Not shockingly, Ohio State's got the first two in line. Jeremiah Smith.
He good.
Caleb Downs.
He also good.
Nick Singleton at Penn State is number 3.
I like his name.
Which name?
Nick.
Mateo Uiagalelei from Oregon is number 4.
You pretty much nailed it.
Mikhail Kamara from Indiana is 5.
Sounds like Camaro.
Drew Allar from Penn State is 6. Sonny Styles, Ohio State, 7. Jennings Dunker, Iowa offensive tackle, is number 8.
He should be a basketball player.
Coy Parrish of Minnesota is 9th. He's a safety. And Vega Ione, I believe is how you say his name, offensive guard, Penn State, is number 10. But as you scroll down the list, you see more Ohio State, you see Penn State. Oh, there's an Illinois guy. There's another Indiana Hoosier. Another Indiana Hoosier. Penn State, Illinois, Oregon, Indiana, Oregon, Washington, Oregon, Iowa, USC. Where the hell is Nebraska?
Nowhere to be found, John.
Not only nowhere to be found in the top 25, but they added 10 others to watch. Apparently, there's no one worth watching either.
Okay, now that's rude. It should be like the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Everyone should at least have one player to watch on the team.
So, interesting that Nebraska doesn't have that person. I guess the question might be, who is the most likely? And that's probably the easiest one to answer. But
a follow-up would be like, is this correct?
Is it correct? But also, if Nebraska is going to be good this year, who needs to be in this list?
Well,
by the end of the season, like if we did this list at the end of the season, who needs to be in this?
I think the answer on who needs is the easiest answer. It's a quarterback, just because it's always a quarterback, right? Like if Nebraska is going to be good, the quarterback is most likely going to play well. Part of that, I think, John, and I know you'd agree with me, is the view of the team overall. Like you're down on the defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if
I'm not down on the defense. I just don't think they'll be as good.
Yes. So if you think that, then the answer on who needs to be this player is probably not going to come from the defensive side of the ball. So it's probably going to come from the offensive side of the ball. And so that means it's probably going to be the quarterback if they are going to be a good team. If you are removing Dylan Raiola, now that's a fun discussion. If you're removing him, I'll give you a name.
Josh Peterson wants to remove Dylan Raiola.
No, do not put that on a graphic via Canva.
You quoted that. That's a quote.
No, it's not. John, the person that I would say is, I was going to say maybe it's off the beaten path, but it's someone that I've talked about 1,000 times this offseason, so maybe it's not. My answer would be Emmett Johnson. Why, Josh, would it be Emmett Johnson? It's because he is the running back, and a good running back and a good running game can change the math of a team, can change the math of a season. Because I guess I always assume, John, if you have a good running game, good running back, it means your pass game is going to be a little easier, because let's say the pass game sucked. Then they can load up the box. And so either A, he is like tremendous, or B, in this hypothesis, this world that I'm creating, they actually can't load up the box because the running game is good, thus the passing game is easier. So I would look at Emmett Johnson as kind of the first person to start with, because I think that would mean everything on offense is going full steam ahead. It means the offensive line is better. It means the passing game is easier. It probably means Dylan Raiola is playing better as well. And, John, we've done some of the numbers before. If he was able to extrapolate the last 4 games last year and do it for 12, and I know it's hard to do, but you're looking at a guy who's averaging 120-ish yards from scrimmage every game. Like that would be top 25 in the Big Ten worthy. So my pick would be Emmett Johnson, EJ.
That's certainly one that would be a good indicator. What if like a Rocco Spindler ended up at the end of season, top 25 best players? That means he's probably played himself into
all conference.
Yeah. And Nebraska hasn't had one of those in a long time. And so I would think if the offensive line was good, it is hard, even though sometimes you think if greatness in the midst of mediocrity sticks out, I think it's harder to identify if your offensive line is mediocre and you're trying to stick out as a great player. Certainly there are great individual things, and the people who know what to look for will see it. But when it's obvious to the naked eye, hey, man, this one dude is so much better than the rest, when the rest of the people around him are mediocre, I don't think that happens. That's not as easy to happen. So my point is this. If Spindler were good enough, for example, I'm just using one guy, to be a top 25 player in the conference, to your point, yes, he'd be all conference. Nebraska hasn't had one of those in a very long time.
Yeah.
Also, I think it would reflect on the entire offensive line because, again, I think greatness is easier to identify
when everything is good.
When everything is good on an offensive line. And so I think it would reflect well, not only on Spindler, but it would reflect on the offensive line.
Yeah, because you can scheme. Let's say you have one good lineman and 4 bad ones. You can scheme around that as a defense. Like, then the good player doesn't really stand out. Jordan says, no corkboard? Yeah, I mean, that would be incredible if Turner Corcoran, Mr. Corkboard, was able to show up on the list. Mm-hmm. Theo put some dinosaur emojis in the chat, a.k.a. Ja'Cory Barney.
Oh.
I love you. You love me. What do you think about Ja'Cory Barney?
Well, that would be a fascinating one because this is a league, especially at Ohio State, that has put out good wide receivers. And if you got one of your wide receivers recognized as being top 25 worthy in the same conversation as other people on the list, I think that would reflect very well, because that would also probably mean, hey, the dude throwing him the football probably found him a lot of times, and he had a lot of yards as well. So yeah, that would be an interesting one to see pop up on the list, whether it's him or a Dane Key, whatever the case may be. If a Nebraska receiver popped up on that list, and especially if it's a Ja'Cory Barney, because with Barney, it's not just going to be catching, but it's going to be in the different ways that they use him. And so you would anticipate he would be good there. Too. Exactly. He would be good in that facet as well and be recognized for that.
Some defensive players. Jordan says, what about Sierra Wright? The actor?
Yes.
Sierra Wright, honestly, John, it would be my maybe most likely person to end up on a list like this. Now, I can't remember who I heard talking about it this week. Maybe it was Mitch Sherman, but they were talking about Sierra Wright and how he was pretty solid his first year at USC and then took a massive step back his second year, which was 2023. Then he came to Nebraska last year. No real expectations for him, and he played pretty well. And Mitch was kind of wondering aloud, was it because the schools got tape on him from year 1 to year 2, and they kind of knew how to attack him? Or, and this is what Nebraska people are hoping for, was it because he was at USC and that was that Alex Grinch defense that was absolutely garbage? And so if it's the latter, then you're feeling pretty good. I really liked what Sierra Wright did last year, so he'd certainly be a pick. Andy brings up a couple young guys. He says, John, if you're thinking a guy that hasn't played a game could be on the list because you mentioned Spindler, then why not Van Poppel or McGahee or one of the other defensive players? And those guys have played, but obviously not a whole lot of time. Jordan mentions Vincent Shavers as well. What do you think about Van Poppel or Willis McGahee?
Yeah, if you could get any one of those pass rushers, because remember, the defense is going to try to hang its hat on a better pass rush and maybe giving up a little bit in the run game, at least for this year. Yeah, if one of those pass rushers showed up on a list like this, that meant he had a monster year. I mean, really, you could make a case at just about every level of the team, if this person made it, what it would signify. But I think by the end of the year, you're going to need, you can't have, and I know we're parsing together a subjective list, right?
Yes.
So I don't want to make it out to be the end all be all, but if you have the perception universally, whether it's one article or several articles talking about here are the top 25, or in this case 35, because they did do the extra 10 players in the Big Ten, at the end of the season, if Nebraska's going to have better than a 7-win season, I think someone has to show up on that list, because typically you get recognized. All the teams that I mentioned who made it, you didn't hear Purdue, you didn't hear Northwestern, you didn't hear the bottom feeders. You heard all programs, mainly at the top, but a few in the middle, like Iowa, for example, and Illinois. You got to be. If Nebraska's going to get to 8 wins this year and have a winning record in the Big Ten, there better be at the end of the year some at least consideration for one person, namely probably Dylan.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially if you're talking about our poll question, 8 or more wins, like you're probably looking at multiple guys who are able to do this. I think. At least I think so. It's probably what you're looking at. I've gone back and forth because this story came out a couple days ago. I've gone back and forth on if it's correct on Nebraska not having any guys in the top 25. Like, I understand it. You know, a lot of the names that we have mentioned so far today, Dane Key, Rocco Spindler, some of the defensive players either have never played at Nebraska in the case of Key and Spindler, or they have played very little at Nebraska so far. So, like, I on one hand, I understand it. On the other, like, we are also, you know, in the weeds on this team, and so we know them better than, you know, a national person is going to. It makes sense, though. It's a 6-6 team in the regular season last year, and a program that's been under 500, you know, in the basically the preceding decade before that. But I think that there are some edge of the top 25 guys on the roster for sure.